Scusi, Roma, da che parte è? Dritto, dritto. Destro di qua o di qua? Dritto.
Gira attorno al fiume.
Giro là, vado giù.
Sempre avanti. C'è una grande rotatoria.
Tutto dritto?
Chi non è abituato a qua a macello, noi sono...
Mamma mia,
io ho 54 anni che sto qui.
Whoever said all roads lead to Rome was lying. For 1,000 years, Roma dominated the world. It was the capital of the greatest empire ever seen. Its art and architecture shaped the Western world and became the emblem of civilization itself. Other capitals, like London, are just a part of the country they are in and don't always represent it. But Roma is Italy.
Ciao, ciao.
When I think of the size of Roma and all the great buildings, statues and fountains, it's overwhelming. We know Roma wasn't built in a day, but I'm amazed it was built at all. You know, Romans are famous for being lazy. They even have their own commandments devoted to the most sacred act of all, rest. Rule number 1. Ama il letto tuo come te stesso. Quando ti viene voglia di lavorare, mettiti a sede e aspetta che passa. Di troppo riposo non è mai morto nessuno. Se nasce stanchi e se vive per riposare. Quello che ha inventato la fatica è morto da un pezzo. Riposa il giorno per dormire la notte. Se vedi qualcuno che si riposa, aiutalo. Non fa oggi quello che puoi fare domani. Romans are more concerned with, how you say, putting your feet up and taking life easy. They know their city is pretty good as it is. The hard work was done centuries ago. Che bello. Roma is a city of fantastic sculpture. It is everywhere. But I have my own favorites, which I visit again and again. The Galleria Borghese is packed with sculpture, but it's the work of one artist that outshines everyone else. His name was Gian Lorenzo Bernini. He lived from 1598 to 1680, and as many as 8 popes would seek him out as the most desirable artist in the world. His work in the Galleria Borghese would launch his career and come to define Baroque sculpture. Baroque was the style that dominated the 17th century. It means many things, but if there is a word that defines it, it's movement. Never before had sculpture moved in the way Bernini's did. This great work, completed in 1622, shows the abduction of a young woman, Proserpina, by Pluto, god of the underworld. He scoops her up and, despite her struggle, carries her away before our eyes. I love Bernini's attention to detail. Pluto's fingers sink into Proserpina's flesh, and his brow twisted by her pushing hand, so full of life and so, how to say, sensuale. In this sculpture, carved just a year or so later, Bernini shows the god Apollo trying to rape a water nymph called Daphne. According to myth, she cried out to her father, the river god, to save her. And at the last moment, he transformed her vulnerable flesh into a tree. Bernini wanted Daphne to turn into a tree before our eyes. As we walk around the sculpture, we see Daphne slowly changing. Apollo no longer grasps a beautiful young woman, but a tree.
Sotto celle di Roma, down each avenue, via street or strada, you can see him disappear two by two on an evening in Roma.
Ok, allora cominciamo con castagne, sbabba.
Formaggio, Ferrero, Nutella.
Quello tanto.
Questo è buono,
Ma ci stanno anche tutti
Anche
quelli.
di qua. Allora, Raffaello.
Andiamo con la
Ok.
frutti di bosco. No, rampone. Ma quanti ne avete?
103. 103. Attenzione.
Grazie.
Manini, prego, ti figuri. Ce la fa a mangiare?
Fantastico. On my last night, I head for the heart of Roma, like everyone else. There are hundreds of fountains here in the city, but Fontana di Trevi is the mother of them all. Let's face it, if you call this a fountain, it's like calling Big Bang an alarm clock. This is a real monumento d'acqua. Designed by Niccolò Salvi in 1732, it took almost 30 years to complete. It shows the god Neptune harnessing the waters of the world. But most people come here for one reason. It is said, if you throw one coin into the fountain, you come back to Rome. If you throw 2 coins, you will marry a beautiful Roman girl. If you throw 3, you will marry a beautiful girl in Roma. I don't know what happens with 4, but it's got to be pretty good. For us Italians, a day has not begun until you have your coffee. And what better place than the oldest cafe in Italy?
I whisper all of you. I whisper.
Buongiorno. Un espresso per piacere. Coffee is not grown in Italy, and yet we have made it our own in the eyes of the world. The caffè latte, the macchiato, the cappuccino, all Italian. But king of them all is the espresso. Grazie. Coming here, it's a little bit like going back in time. This cafe has been serving coffee in the same orange cup since 1760. People like Casanova had their coffee here. So it's good enough for me. Of course, you British can't really see the point of our espresso. It seems too small, a waste of money. But for us Italians, this is the real thing. Ottimo, ma lo centellinate proprio a peso d'oro.
Pensavo fosse troppo, quando me ne è andato il collega pensavo fosse troppo alto.
Ma se uno vi chiede il caffè americano?
Se poi glielo facciamo, ma se viene a Roma e prende il caffè americano, viene che va al ristorante e prende un bel brodo. Così, all'americano dopo, se vuole le faccio vedere come viene il caffè. Si usa lo stesso caffè e 1,5 litri d'acqua calda. Quello noi lo usiamo per il brodo, per la pasta. Per il caffè si beve
no, così è la spezzata energia, ci vuole questo.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Yes.
On the way out of Roma is the Eur district, also known as Roma Moderna. It's like a city within a city. Every country has its embarrassing periods, and Italy has plenty. It was here in 1935 that the fascist dictator Benito Mussolini envisioned a modern city that would match the splendor of ancient Rome. But when the Second World War broke out 4 years later, Eur was far from finished. Even so, there are reminders from the fascist era all around. This is the Palazzo della Civiltà Italiana, an extraordinary marriage of fascism and modernism. Mussolini's presence is still very much here, especially at the Palazzo degli Uffici. You know, Italians have a strange relationship with Mussolini. My grandparents had to leave their home and hide away up in the mountains.